Hi, welcome back. On this video here, we're going to be learning how to pull information from URLs and processing it using PHP. Right? So I'm going to show you right now a couple searches here on Google, a couple examples. So I'm going to show you an example of a URL when Google actually sends parameters via URL. All right? So let's say, for example, I type in cars here. You see the parameters right here. They're very simple to recognize once you know how they work. So we see a question mark here, and we see source ID equals Chrome hyphen instant, and then stops here with an ampersand symbol. All right, this ampersand here divides each of these parameters. So we see here it stops here again and stops here again, and we're going to be learning how to do that right now. All right, so and how we do that is by using a super global called get. Let's open our co-editor here. Let's do a save as on this document here, blank.php. Let's call this get.php. All right, and if I can go ahead and find that get right here. All right, there we go. All right, so we got this get.php, and what I want to do and how I want to show you is that we're going to go to the URL, we're going to pass some parameters, and then we're going to catch it here and display it and show you how it works. So for that, we need to catch that value of those, we need to catch that parameter. All right, so we are going to open some PHP tags here, and we're going to use the variable, the super global called get. And this is actually underscore right there. So $_ get, this is the super global variable, and meaning that it's available anywhere in our document here. We don't need to it's available inside functions, outside functions, anywhere we declare this is available, as long as we pass parameters on the URL. So how we are going to display this? Very simple. So when we pass a parameter on the URL, we're going to catch it here, and we're going to display with this function print r. The reason why we have to use print r displays what's inside arrays. Now, you heard me saying that this is super global, super variable global, right? It has a $ right here, has an underscore. The super global variable converts the data. It converts this data. This PHP has this done in the background there. In all the functions they have in the PHP language. It converts that into an associative array. All right, and I'm going to show you in a minute how that works. So let's just go ahead and go to the browser, and now you can see here that we have an array, and that's the print r, that's the get super global right there. It's empty right now, but when we pass it a parameter, it's going to display right there. So all we have to do is actually go here and pass it a parameter like ID equals 10, enter. And as you can see, it converted the ID part of it for the key, and then the 10 for the value. And if I divide this with an ampersand right here, and I say source, like Google did with the example that I show you with Google, source equals I don't know, reports, enter. You see, it created another key, and it set a value for reports. We divide each of these values by an ampersand right there. So keep that in mind. Now we can send this information directly when the user types it in, or we can send it via links, right? So let's go down here and let's create a link, and I want to send that information via links. So let's create this link here, and we're going to set it to go to the same page that we are on, and here with a question mark we are going to set that information, ID equals 200. When the user clicks here, we are going to send that ID of 200. We're going to send this parameter there. All right, and we're going to display it right here. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's do this. All right, so when the user clicks, we send that ID to that get super global, as you can see there. All right, perfect. Now we can make this dynamic also. All right, keep that in mind. We can put PHP right here, and this is the way it's usually done. This ID is usually set dynamically. This is not set You don't see users going to the browser and typing this ID now, right? When the user clicks on something, this ID gets set dynamically. So if the user goes on Google, for example, and searches for cars, right? That gets sent dynamically, right? That all that parameter was sent automatically. I didn't go physically there and put question mark 200, right? I didn't do that. So keep that in mind. So we can send this like this. Open a PHP and tag and close one, and let's make a variable. Let's call this ID. Let's put it equal to 10. All right. I'm gonna do something very simple here. I'm gonna take off this ID here. I'm gonna replace it with PHP, and I'm gonna echo out. Make sure that you echo it, because if you don't echo it, it won't work. So what I'm doing right now is I replace the ID that I set manually here with this dynamic ID, and it's gonna be equal to 10. So it's gonna do basically the same thing. We're just gonna have a different value. All right. So let's just take this out here, and I click on it. You get this ID set to 10 there. All right. So we're missing something here because we're missing that ID equals. There we go. We need to have that ID equal. We need to have the key. All right. There we go. So let's do it again. Click. So we have now the ID, and the value is 10. You see, this is, and then we can test for things like this, right? If we say, if for some reason, if get is equal to ID, to this ID, which is equal to 10, then we can send the user to another page. We can do things like this. We can actually do multiple things with loops, or I mean, we can do, there's a lot of things we can do. All right. We can even change this here, this href, and make it dynamically. All right. We can even change this click here dynamically if we want to with PHP. All right. We can say something like button, and then we can set the value up there to click here. We can set that this string here. All right. We can make our applications however we want, and then we insert some PHP right here. All right. Let's just grab it from here. There we go. And let's just echo button here. As you can see, it's the same thing right here. All right. But we can change the value here whenever we want. We can call this submit now, and you can see it changing on top. All right. Click. Look at that. See that? Change. Click here now. So there are many things that we can do with PHP, but the best part is that we can get information from the URL, and we can do things with it. Depending on what the user clicks, we can send the user to a different page and say, okay, if the user click here, all right, if the ID was 10, if the value was 10, I want you to send the user to this, and I want you to get this information from the database and display it to the user. All right, so hopefully this was clear to you. If not, don't worry about it. You can ask me questions in the discussions, and we're going to be playing around more with getting information from users after this lecture, right? So take care, and I'll see you in the next lecture.